What if I told you that the Atlantic Ocean was once called the Ethiopian Ocean? That African explorers sailed across its vast waters long before Christopher Columbus even dreamed of the Americas? These voyages aren't just stories, they are truths buried beneath centuries of colonial erasure. Dive into the lost history of African mariners who connected the world. Before we dive into these fascinating stories, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we'll be bringing you more untold history that will completely change the way you see the world. Share this video with someone who loves learning the truths hidden in the past. Trust me, they'll thank you later. The ocean has always held secrets. But did you know that centuries ago, the waters we now call the Atlantic were known by another name? They were called the Ethiopian Ocean. The year is 1311. An African king sends hundreds of ships across the Atlantic. Where did they go? What did they find? And why have these epic journeys been forgotten? Ethiopia was a term that ancient Greeks and Romans used to refer to all of Africa south of Egypt. To them, this vast, unexplored world was home to a people so advanced in their maritime knowledge that the Atlantic Ocean itself was named in their honor. Number 1. The Voyage of Mansa Abu Bakr II, 1311 AD. Our first tale begins in the ancient empire of Mali. The year is 1311. Mansa Abu Bakr II, the powerful ruler of Mali, decided to embark on the most daring expedition known to mankind. Abu Bakr's curiosity about the world beyond the Atlantic consumed him. So he gathered 200 ships filled with his finest sailors, supplies, and riches, enough to last for years. Where did these ships go? What lands did they discover? No one knows for sure. But one thing is certain. Abu Bakr never returned. Mansa Abu Bakr standing on the shores of the Ethiopian Ocean, pointing toward the horizon as his ships sail away into the unknown. Number 2. The Moors and their ancient navigational mastery. You've heard of the Moors, right? These African rulers didn't just conquer parts of Europe, they were master navigators. By the 8th century, they had already perfected the science of oceanic travel, sailing beyond the Pillars of Hercules and mapping territories across the Atlantic. Their skills were unmatched, and they built ships so large and advanced that European voyagers of the time could only marvel in awe. The Moorish navigator used ancient instruments to chart stars and draw maps. Number 3. The ancient Carthaginian mariners, 5th century BC. Even further back in time, around 500 BC, the Carthaginians, an ancient African civilization, sailed far into the Atlantic. Led by Hanno the Navigator, they established colonies along the West African coast. Some historians believe they went as far as South America. Long before Columbus, Hanno stood on the deck of a grand ship, staring into the wild unknown. Number 4. The legend of the Almoravid Empire's secret fleet. Legend has it that in the 12th century, the Almoravid Empire, the empire that unified parts of Africa and Europe, had a secret fleet of ships. This fleet was rumored to have ventured far across the Atlantic, disappearing into history. But what if those voyages reached distant lands unknown to us even today? Their shadowy fleet sailed west of the Atlantic, their destination cloaked in mystery. Number 5. The Ethiopians who sailed to the Americas before the Vikings. Some even suggest that the Ethiopians made it to the Americas centuries before the Vikings. Evidence suggests cultural exchanges, carvings, and relics that bear the unmistakable influence of African craftsmanship in ancient American civilizations. Number 6. The Voyage of the Olmecs and Africans, 1200 BC. Let's go back even further, to ancient Mesoamerica. The Olmecs, one of the earliest known civilizations in the Americas, created colossal stone heads with distinct African features. Could these have been inspired by African sailors who arrived on the shores of Central America long before the Olmec culture emerged in 1200 BC? Anthropological evidence suggests a cross-cultural exchange that could only have been possible through oceanic voyages. An Olmec stone head next to African artifacts, highlighting the undeniable resemblance between the two. Number 7. King Taharqa and the Egyptian Sea Voyages, 7th century BC. King Taharqa of Egypt, one of the greatest rulers of the Nubian dynasty, was not only a conqueror on land but also on the seas. Around 690 BC, Taharqa's ships sailed across the Mediterranean and possibly ventured into the Ethiopian Ocean. His fleet explored unknown territories, and some believe they reached as far as modern-day South America. Taharqa's reign marked a period of Egyptian maritime dominance, and his vision of exploration led to voyages that would forever shape the understanding of the world. The majestic fleet of Egyptian ships cut through the waters, with King Taharqa standing proudly at the helm. Number 8. The voyage of Mali's merchant mariners to the Caribbean, 14th century. In the 14th century, stories spread about Mali's merchant mariners, who were known for their seafaring prowess. They traded goods with the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean long before Europeans arrived. Evidence of this is found in the oral histories of Caribbean tribes, who spoke of African visitors bringing goods from across the sea. Archaeologists have uncovered artifacts that bear striking resemblance to those found in West Africa, further supporting this incredible tale. African merchants from Mali traded with the Caribbean islanders. The cultural exchanges between these two distant worlds is still visible to this day. Number 9. The mysterious voyages of the Kanem-Bornu Empire, 15th century. The Kanem-Bornu Empire, located in what is now Chad, was a center of learning and trade in the 15th century. But less known is their involvement in oceanic exploration. Chronicles from the empire speak of ships that sailed westward from the African coast, reaching islands that no one could name. These voyages were shrouded in mystery, with few records surviving. However, tales passed down through generations speak of encounters with distant lands and people who bore no resemblance to those of Africa or Europe. Scene. A scene of Kanem-Bornu ships sailing into the horizon, disappearing into the mist as the sun sets behind them. Number 10. Pre-colonial African navigators in Australia and the Pacific Islands, 500 BC. Our final voyage takes us even farther east, to the Pacific. Ancient African navigators are believed to have reached the shores of Australia and the Pacific Islands as early as 500 BC. Genetic studies and oral histories from the indigenous peoples of these regions suggest contact with Africans long before European colonization. The intricate knowledge of ocean currents, star navigation, and shipbuilding techniques used by these Africans enabled them to cross vast distances. Their influence can still be felt in the cultures and traditions of the Pacific Islanders. The arrival of the African explorers landing on a distant island was a stunning view greeted by curious islanders. Their sails illuminated the golden Pacific sun for ages before Columbus. Lessons to learn. Number 1. The untold truths of history. We've been taught that Columbus was the first to reach the Americas, but history is filled with stories that challenge this narrative. Number 2. Courage to venture into the unknown. These African explorers embodied the human spirit of curiosity and bravery, venturing where others dared not go. Number 3. The power of erased history. This video isn't just about the past, it's about reclaiming the stories of peoples and civilizations whose achievements have been overshadowed. Number 4. Exploration is a part of our shared human heritage. These stories remind us that humans have always been driven by a desire to discover and connect, regardless of borders or race. Number 5. Never underestimate the power of erased history. The tales of these African explorers have been lost to time, but their achievements serve as a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of the African spirit. Number 6. The importance of rewriting the narrative. History is often written by those in power, but it's up to us to seek the truth, to honor the contributions of those who have been forgotten, and to pass these stories on to future generations. Final reflection. The truth is, the Ethiopian Ocean and the African navigators who crossed it left a legacy that time has tried to bury. But history whispers, if you listen closely, you can still hear the waves calling. The oceans hold our past, forgotten voyages, brave explorers, and stories that challenge everything we thought we knew. These tales of African sailors who navigated the Ethiopian Ocean are more than just history. They are proof that humanity has always been connected, long before borders were drawn. And the question remains, how much more is out there, waiting to be discovered?